Now, welcome back. Of course, this week, 6th of February, we'll be celebrating International Day of Zero Tolerance to Female Genital Mutilation. And before we went for break, I was saying that we fought this battle for the longest time. And I'm thinking, honestly, it's high time that we speak of something else aside from FGM. I don't know why the communities are not embracing this. I don't know why we're not yet somewhere, but nonetheless, like Madam Marcy said, we have taken great strides that we cannot ignore. And indeed, where there is progress, we're sure that at some point in time, we're going to reach the destiny. So back to you guys. Let's talk briefly about the conflicts, especially for you. I'm imagining you are part of this community and you're trying to advocate for the fact that this should not be done in the community. How hard is it for you? The difficulties and all that, yeah.
I think one of the challenges is in fighting FGM in general is when we started doing this, we didn't know how to, and as civil society, we are learning on as we implement it. I think the first thing was trying to use force and try to arrest people when they do that, and that has been fought. If you look at the history of the Maasai, even during the colonial time, is anything that is forced on them, they rebel and they go totally the opposite direction. So one of the things that we've learned is a dialogue is key. And if you put people together and just talk about, let them discuss and see how things, if this will work. So, and with that, and the fact that I am Maasai helps me not to have even more conflict. Because the fact that I can speak the language and I can use their history, I can use their sayings and proverbs. I think it's just about looking at what can you use. Go to the root cause of why the problem is. But the main challenge, I think, also as a Maasai is the last you find, you'll say we'll stop. Then what are we going to do in place of the rite of passage? So that's I think one of the questions that is lingering in our minds, because we have alternative rites of passage, but that have been developed in the boardroom, but the community have no idea. It will not again reflect what they would say a rite of passage. But again, because if you look at FGM and the fact that it makes a girl a woman and she will engage in sex and get pregnant, we have early marriages. I think in Kenya, Narok has the highest percentage of early marriage, early teenage or teenage pregnancies and marriages. But looking at, and this is because this is what leads to it. You feel a woman, so why not participate in it? But the biggest challenge we go through is a woman. And the fact that I have gone through it, and I'll say, so why don't you want other girls to go through it? You went through it. I'm like, I didn't have a choice. If I had a choice, I would do that. So sometimes I will look for ways to negotiate it out. Like, you've gone through it, why should we not do it? It's our culture, we don't want it to die in our hands. Why do you want to kill it? Like, why are you embracing Western culture? This is not us. And the fact that what will make a woman like an identity, that you're no longer a young girl, you're no longer a child. So those are the questions and the challenges that we go through, and the conflict of interest, that what can we do in another place. And the challenge is Maasai, it's a big community. So to come up with an alternative that is accepted and embraced by everybody, then we need to talk with the gatekeepers, as she says, to see how do we then come up with something that the community will still celebrate a girl life, but not do anything to her, and not socialize her in a way that she'll feel that I am not equal to a man, that feels that as a boy or we are the same and we're treated equally as children, but still celebrated as an important part of society, and no physical damages or don't reduce. Because one of the things we do is, yes, the men go through the rite, they're cut, but there's no part of their body that is removed at the end of the day. It's just a covering. So for the girl, it's something more, because it's a body organ that definitely had the purpose why God put it there. So it's a challenge, especially also the fact that the biggest Maasai community, the biggest percentage is illiterate. So you have to find those details to talk to the language and explain and to people to understand. But other than that, it's much easier to dialogue.
Easier. Of course, in regards to that, is plan having things that you can talk to the people and tell them. Of course, those are parts of the difficulties that you go through, I'm sure. And I can imagine many of the times that we've heard about this, I'm sorry to say this, but in most cases, the people who are against this, or the people who are going down there to the society or to the community to give them this education and tell them that this is not, they're empowering the girl child. They're talking to the girl child. Sometimes you're even told, if worst comes to the worst, run away from home. And don't you think that is a way of trying to tell the girl child to rebel, and to go against the community and all that, which shouldn't be the thing, actually?
Yeah. And I think that is one of the conflicts that most parents who wouldn't want, and guardians anyway, who wouldn't want their girls to go through the cat phase. You don't want to be an outcast in the society, but you know the effect that this cat is going to have on your child. And probably you've looked across the region, you've seen so-and-so has succeeded so well, and I want my girl to be exactly like that. But the possibility, do you know, like most of the negotiations for marriage in most communities, and I think even in the Maasai, they're done by the fathers. And sometimes the mothers don't even get to know about it. So the mothers would want to protect their children. And then, you know, from now getting married or getting married off, and therefore they will advise their children to run away so that they don't go through the cat. But there is another angle to it. There are these mothers who believe so much in the traditions that you cannot be different because you will not get anyone to marry you. Therefore, you have to go through the cat. So you have those kind of parents in the same community. No, it's not different community, the same community. There is one who is like, I want my daughter to get the full advantage of childhood and pursue their education and become important people in life. And there is this one who said, you know, I do not want my daughter to be an outcast, so they have to get at the cat so that they get a good man who will marry them. And the good man doesn't have to be their age mate. Can be somebody 2-3 times older than them, which is really a disadvantage. And I think the biggest conflict for us as Plan when we program is that we do not want to tell the people, throw your culture outside the window. Because again, as Africans, we don't need to throw away our culture. Let's keep what is good. But what is retrogressive? Can we modify it so that it is not harming anyone, so that it is not introducing inequality, you know, gender inequality, so that it is not denying either the boy child or the girl child the opportunity, so that you create a platform where all of them can compete favorably for the opportunities in life, you know. And I guess that is the bottom line in child protection, that everybody, the boy and the girl child, get equal opportunity. But this practice and many other cultural practices, like even you know, child marriage, it denies somebody the opportunity. And this is not to say that it's only the girls who are getting married early nowadays. Even the boys. I don't know whether there was a news feature in the news a while back, I think about 6 months ago, and there was this feature of a boy in some place in Coast who was struggling to do his homework.
And of course he's married.
And he's married in a small room, and the baby is crying, and the 13-year-old wife is there trying to cook. I mean, it's pathetic.
It is.
14 and 13, they are married and they have a child. 3 children in the same home. I mean, how do you even? So it's about letting the children enjoy their childhood. And for us to do this, we have to find a way of telling them culture is good, but as long as it is affecting the life of the child, then it's not acceptable.
Then let's talk about finding a way. In school, were you able to get this information probably in school? Maybe we can say the curriculum is not friendly enough for us to instill this to our children and all that. Did you ever get that in school as early as possible?
I think in school, no. But if you think about equality in school, then if it's education process, the curriculum, it's equality because you go the same class, you learn the same, and you compete the same.
So would it be necessary to instill such curriculum in schools?
I think, maybe not curriculum, but life skills, because one of the things about us as African is the socialization process. That, for example, you grow up saying, if a boy cries, don't cry, you're not a girl. You know, those kind of things that people talk to children at home. It's something that you're trying to say, oh, girls are weak, they're allowed to cry, you're supposed to be strong, you're a boy, you're not supposed to cry
at all.
And that's what is even affecting our men, because they're not emotional, they don't know how to express their emotions. Because since they are young, they have been oppressed. Oppress your emotions. And we wonder, why do we have violence in society? People don't know how to speak it out. So I think, how do we let children express their emotions, be children, as she says, and expose children for these life skills? What we're trying to do is also to let the boys be the protectors of the girls than the perpetrators, of learning that the importance of protecting a girl and speaking up for a girl is for the benefit of society. If women are participating in this country equally as men, it's building the economy of the country. It's not going to do any harm to us. It's building our country. It's building the economy, increasing the GDP of this country. So we need that people to understand and kids to understand as early as possible, as possible to know.
Speaking of that, do we have men on board, you know, helping you in the fight against this? Because I mean, we only have ladies on board. I mean, seriously, but are they there in your organization like Plan International Kenya? Do we have men also?
Yes, we do. And actually, as Plan, one of our strategies of ending this violence against women through FGM is engaging men and boys as agents of change. And who is the consumer of the end product of FGM? It is a man. So I think if we have to win the war against FGM and even early marriage, then we have to tell men, don't insist on marrying a girl who is circumcised. And that's the end of the story. And even getting them to say, I will not marry a girl who is circumcised.
Have you, I mean, do we have men from your end that, you know, support you in this?
Yes. During the community, I work with different organizations. I work with youth group, but I also employed with a church organization called Free Pentecostal Fellowship. And my colleagues are men. I am the only woman.
Oh, nice.
And they're fighting this. And I think one of the things is coming up of Maasai men and young men to say we're not really, if the girl, maybe not really, because sometimes what is the flip side of someone saying, I will not marry a circumcised girl? Some of us will.
That's it.
So the thing is, how do, like men saying that we are going to marry the girls, even if they are not circumcised. Mostly we will like the ones that are not cut. So and we have men that are speaking like that, even among the Maasai. In Kajiado, we have a head teacher who is fighting that, and he's a man. We have some men who started groups. We have the Maasai warrior, the cricket warriors. They're speaking about against FGM. So we have a lot of Maasai men who are speaking, even just within the community, against the cast. So we're going to win this war.
You've had sessions with girls, maybe in schools, or maybe you've gone home and had sessions with girls?
Yeah,
How do they take it? Because, you know, for us, always what mommy says is right, what daddy says is right, and there's this other person who's coming in to tell us this is not the thing. I mean, this child gets kind of confused, you know.
That's true.
I think one of the most interesting thing about Maasai community is we are very open for learning. That's very interesting, and if you've not worked with them and you've just read about them, you'll never know that. We are very open to learning because they say life is about learning processes. So if we talk to girls, girls are open. The only question will be like, so how will I share this with my mother or my father? But people will say, okay, so, and the fact that you're one of them, they'll say, okay, fine. So if you're fighting it and you went through it, so there has to be something that is wrong about it. So I've talked with girls. I do girls mentorship within the Maasai community. And I have those close discussions with them. And we have a few of us who are planning to have this open discussion as Maasai women, those who have not gone through the cut and those who have gone through the cut. Like, let's come openly and talk about it. People who are educated, people who are in leadership positions in this country, or working with NGOs or working with some initiatives, and just speaking it out and be okay to say, fine, people have been talking about it, but it's high time that us, as people who have gone through, who are affected, who've gone through it, to come and say, it should end. So I have had that.
Experience is the best teacher, so that I agree with. And of course, we'll come back to you, Madam Mercy. Before you even get to tell us the strides that we've made, you know, so far, what do you think about the enforcement of the law? Is it well enforced? You know, we have laws. Are they implemented to the maximum?
I don't think so. And in Kenya, we have very good laws. But when you get down to
implementation,
that becomes a big challenge. And that is because, one, when we come up with the new laws, we take a very long time to give orientation to the people who are supposed to implement those laws. You know, like in a place like Tharaka, where Plan has the anti-FGM program.
Yes.
We don't have too many DPP officers, you know, the lawyers, the prosecutors from the DPP office. And, you know, for the longest time ever, the police are the prosecutors. And if they're not prosecuting because now the DPP's office is posting officers all over the country, they're the ones to frame the charge sheet. So they need to be taken through the law, and so that they can know how to frame the charge sheet. I know we have had cases where they are struggling to fix this charge under the Sexual Offences Act, not knowing that it would fall so perfectly in the anti-FGM law, you know. So sometimes it is just that this information does not get to the stakeholders. And other times, there are real obstacles. For example, in December, FGM is not something that is conducted in public. It's something that is done in the dead of the night. The parents organize. The circumcisers are within the community. There are, you know, some ladies from the neighborhood.
Yes.
And I don't know whether you've seen those crude instruments that are, you would even get scared. You know, the knives that they use, and they use for, you know, several girls. And it's like they are oblivious of the dangers, you know, the transmission of diseases, tetanus and all. I can see the way you're reacting to it, you know. Yeah, so for them, this has got to be done because girls have to become women. And therefore, because they know that the chief is watching, and there are some neighbors who do not necessarily entertain this, so we need to do it in secret. And therefore, at around midnight, just come around. Or come for dinner and stay on. It's almost Christmas. There's this spirit of generosity. And then in the dead of the night, the girls will go through FGM. Sometimes the girls know about it. Sometimes they actually do not know about it. So they are ambushed. And there are others who are like, because they have heard about the anti-FGM message, or people have gone to school. And, you know, Plan works very closely with the schools. And we run this program throughout the year. And December is the climax when we have the alternative rites of passage. Like last year, we had 300 girls for about a whole week. And with other stakeholders, we came together and we organized this and this conference for girls, and we took them through, you know, the types of FGM, the advantages, the disadvantages. You can have an advantage. Yes, I am a grown woman, but can you be a grown woman still without having to go through FGM? So what is this really a beautiful woman? Yes, all grown. So when somebody tells you that you can only be a woman if you go through FGM,
it does not make sense actually.
But you see, you're made to believe it.
Yes.
So those are some of the things that that Plan is doing, getting that message to the girls, getting the message to the parents, trying to equip even the local leaders. You know, we work with the police, and we tell them there is an anti-FGM law. Let's have a seminar. What does it say? If this happens, where can we charge that? And we don't do it out of we don't send lay people to do it. We will get like the officers from the DPP's office, who we work very closely with, just educate us, all of us as a society. How do you, under what act can you be able to charge this? How do you present this to the magistrate so that there is no doubt that you're getting convicted, this person is getting convicted? And the other thing is the resources. Some of these people who are supposed to be fighting FGM are seriously under-resourced. Take, for example, the Department of Children's Services. And Plan works very closely with the Department of Children's Services. So when we get these cases, the next person we want to call, or when we hear that there is an intended cut in this and that family, we will call the children officer. That can be like 100 kilometers away from his or her main station. They don't have a vehicle, and if they have a vehicle, it doesn't have fuel, or it is not, or there is no driver, and it is actually risky even to go and rescue those children. Are there rescue centers that the government has? In some places, yes. In some places, you don't have. And do you have a policeman to escort you? Those are the same police who are fighting. You know, they are guarding a certain installation, government installation. That area, you also have the cattle rustlers, so some of them are seconded there, and there are just a few of them in the police station. So you find that the chief, even if the chief does not have a firearm, is the one who is escorting you. It is a risk for both Plan staff and even the government staff, because it is a high season. People want to make a living, and people want to make girls women. You know, it is cultural. So you find that there are a lot of obstacles in fighting this war. And even if the laws are there, there is just more than the law that we need to win the war. Again, let us equip the offices that use the law. If we don't do that, the law is in English. Yes. Who has translated that law in Kimasai, Kimeru? Kisii is another hotspot for FGM. You know, northern Kenya, you know, Pokot, Turkana. Who has translated the law in a language that even the circumcisers themselves can understand? Sometimes they say, that law belongs to the people in Nairobi. It is not ours. I don't know whether you have heard that.
Well, it's true. Indeed, of course, time is not so much on our side, unfortunately. But of course, I'll go back to you, Naseyian. In a wrap-up, maybe what are the strides that we have made as a country? And in 2 or 3 words, what can you tell your community or maybe the children down there so that at least we ensure that FGM becomes a game of the past?
I think one of the biggest strides is even having the law, because when we started this, there was no law.
There was no law,
I think there's also a lot of strides in terms of knowledge. Even the police officers now are knowledgeable about it. Initially, it was really, really hard to even speak about it. And I think also the communities, there's a lot of knowledge out there. The sensitization has been done, because even in my community right now, people are doing it. In some areas, people are doing it in secrecy, and which means people are already scared and aware that this is not the right thing to do. So I think we've made a lot of strides. But I would say in my community, I think FGM does not work. It's past. It doesn't serve any purpose, and I think it's just time to say no to it. And I think that the fact that girls will be women, whether the cut does not make anyone a woman, and the process doesn't. It just the exposure and the things, especially the education, is what really makes you maybe a leader, get a position in society, and become to create change within a community. So, and I think that I'll also say that a woman is an important participant in this society, and they need to empower her, because as Zoma says, if you leave half of the population out, then definitely you don't expect to develop. And there's a need for women to be part of the development of this country, and that means FGM being out and be given the equal platform to play.
And indeed, we've come to the end of the show, and thank you so much once again for being here with us today. And like we say, empower a girl child and ensure that, of course, that will be a result of empowering the entire country. Many thanks for always keeping us company, and of course to the team that has made this program a success. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for always watching News in Focus and Ebru Africa at large. I'm Linda Alela Matambo, and until next time, see you.